My name is Tadiko Pintoa. I am a storyboard artist for Invincible Season 2.
My name is Warren, and I am a board artist on Invincible.
Hi, my name is Tatiana. I'm also a board artist on Invincible.
My name's Ian Abando, and I was a director on Invincible. When Dan brought me on, he let me source my team.
None of us have really worked on an action-driven show.
I brought on people that had something to prove to themselves, and they were super hungry, and I think that made for a really fun collaboration.
All of us came from very different places. Me and Ian, we came from feature animation.
In feature animation, you have a lot of time, and we don't have that on a series show like Invincible, but I did bring that iterative process into how we would construct the episodes.
Honestly, working on Invincible, there was like a freedom to it where you were just able to let loose and go as crazy as possible. And honestly, personally, that's kind of the stuff that I like to do.
Even before we board, we would just thumbnail very, very rough, crude drawings, and it made the production much more smooth because we already figured out the heavy creative thinking in an earlier past that required less energy.
As a board artist, my favorite type of scene to work on are dramatic moments. Those parts get really tender and it's juxtaposed by like the crazy intense energy of the fights. So when we get those slow moments, it just feels really nice and you get really intimate with the characters themselves. It just gives the episode a nice pacing.
So the important thing about season 2, especially when it comes to Mark's character development, is that he's kind of just graduating high school and he's trying to find his own footing as a new superhero. But then we also come through, really difficult scenarios where Mark is kind of trying to figure out who he is as a character, who he is as a superhero. What does that do to a person? And what does that do to a person who's really young and who now has the responsibility of protecting the world?
I mean, I think I was most interested in Debbie's arc coming off of season 1, but I found the Shapesmith to be like really interesting and really endearing, but it was nice to have someone other than Rex as like a comedic counterpoint.
Not this bullshit again. I'm not doing another me.
My favorite character to board and draw is actually Donald. He does not give enough love. I love him, and everyone else should love him too.
Well, for drawing, I kind of like drawing Adam Eve, but when it comes to my favorite character to board, I would say Rexplode, because he kind of talks like this, and I can kind of put myself in it.
Oh geez, what does a storyboard artist do on a show like Invincible? Well, I think you get a script, you visualize how it should play out, what the characters are doing, where the characters are in relation to each other, and you make it as fun and badass as possible.
As storyboard artists, we don't have a lot of time. I think a lot of people assume that we get script pages and what we do is verbatim because it's like, oh, well, you had a script or you had designs, but there's a lot of soul searching I feel you have to be prepared to do as a board artist. You have to be able to draw from your own life experience and tap into a relatable moment and craft that.
When you're boarding, you could picture how it should play in your head. Also, like knowing who the actor is playing that character, you can kind of visualize it.
Even before I start boarding, my team and I, we actually break down the scene and talk about what are we trying to say in the sequence? What are we trying to say about the character? So we're thinking about the character, we're thinking about the overall plot, and how do we make this sequence important for the overall story or for the overall show?
If you board a scene and you're not sure what it's saying or what it's about, knowing how to look at sterile pages and discover subtext and tell that visually is paramount.
Like when I worked on 202 and I got to do a pretty big action sequence between Mark and the Depth Dweller, there was a lot of gore, especially with the fish people getting smushed into bloody paste. But then I also got to do really character-driven moments, very subtle sequences where characters are going through, family relationship issues or, characters trying to figure out their future. And a lot of those require, subtle cinematography or internal acting, and those things are really great to explore too, because it also allows me to explore a side of myself and also have an open discussion with my team about do we all have very similar experiences, and how do we kind of combine all of our experiences and sort of shape it in a way that fits our characters and the Invincible universe.
It's a really long show. Every episode is like a mini movie, and you're not going to be able to get in with your own hands and make it. And so there's a lot of delegation and trust that happens. Trusting myself that I wasn't letting the crew down was a seasons-long journey, but giving that trust back to my team and letting them know that I would go to bat for them, whatever ideas they wanted to roll with. But I learned through Dan that it's just about trust. You just got to put it out there, just hope for the best. I'm Ian Abondo, director on Invincible. Thank you for being a Skybound Insider.